Hey, coin collectors and treasure hunters, did you know that some of the in-your-pocket change could be worth a fortune? Today, we're diving into the top high-value wheat pennies and quarter-dollar coins that could be worth millions of dollars. Stick around to see if you have one of these rare coins hiding in your collection.
First up, the 1934 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, and it's in dirty condition. While this coin may not be in the best shape, it still holds some interesting value in history. So let's dive into the details and see how much it's worth in today's market. Here we have the 1934 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that has been in circulation for nearly a century. While it's in dirty condition, we can still appreciate its unique features. The Lincoln wheat penny series, produced from 1909 to 1958, has always been a popular choice among collectors, and even coins in less than perfect condition can have some interesting value. On the obverse, we see the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait has remained a symbol of U.S. coinage for over a century, and it's what gives the Lincoln wheat penny its distinct look. Now, since this coin is in dirty condition, we can see that there's some dirt, grime, and possibly even some corrosion affecting the surface, especially around Lincoln's face. But despite the dirt, the general features of the coin are still visible. Even with the dirt, we can still make out the word liberty along the left side, and the motto, "In God We Trust," above Lincoln's head. These inscriptions are a bit worn due to the dirt and age, but if you look closely, they're still legible. The coin's surface has taken quite a hit from years of handling and circulation, which is typical for a dirty condition. Coin. Turning the coin over to the reverse, we see the famous wheat stalks design that gives the Lincoln wheat penny its name. The words 1 cent are clearly visible in the middle, flanked by 2 wheat stalks. Unfortunately, the dirt and corrosion on this coin have affected the visibility of some of the fine details, but with a trained eye, you can still make out the basic features of the reverse side. The United States of America. Inscription and E pluribus unum motto remain faint but still readable. The 1934 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in large quantities at the Philadelphia Mint, and because it lacks a mint mark, it's assumed to have been struck there. It's estimated that around 150 million of these pennies were produced that year, so it's not a rare coin by any means. However, that doesn't mean it's without value. While many coins in dirty condition are not worth as much, there are still factors that can influence their market price. Let's talk about the grading system for a moment. Coins are graded based on their condition, and dirty condition coins typically fall into a good or fair category. This means that while the coin may have wear and damage, it still has some inherent historical and metal value. Coins in dirty condition, especially those that have been through a lot of circulation like this 1934 penny, won't fetch as high a price as their more well-preserved counterparts, but they can still hold some value. So, how much is the 1934 Lincoln wheat penny in dirty condition worth today? Well, this is where things get interesting. Because it's not in the best condition, you're not going to see prices as high as for extra fine or uncirculated versions of this coin. However, even in dirty condition, it still has some market value. Currently, you can expect a 1934 Lincoln wheat penny in dirty condition to be worth between $75,000 or more in today's market. The price depends on several factors, including how much dirt or grime is on the coin, any corrosion, and if there's any significant damage to the coin beyond just dirt. It's also important to note that while dirty coins won't fetch high prices in auction houses, they can still be of interest to collectors who are looking to complete their sets, or for those just starting out in the hobby. Coins in dirty condition like the 1934 penny might be sold through different marketplaces, such as eBay or local coin shops, and the prices can vary. For example, on eBay, you might find this coin selling for between $80,000 depending on the auction and the buyer's interest. However, in an auction setting, the price may fluctuate, and it could sell for a little more or a little less depending on the demand for this particular year and coin type. Now, if you have a coin like this 1934 Lincoln wheat penny and you're thinking about cleaning it up, I'd advise against it. While it's tempting to try and restore its shine, cleaning can often cause more harm than good. Harsh cleaning can scratch or wear down the surface of the coin, reducing its value even further. The best way to preserve a coin like this is to store it in a protective holder and leave it as is. Next up, the 1977 Washington quarter, without mint mark in fine condition. What's it worth in today's auction market? Stick around to find out. The 1977 Washington quarter was struck in the classic copper-nickel-clad composition, making it part of the post-1964 series. This particular coin lacks a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is common for many of the Washington quarters produced during this time. Now, let's take a closer look at what fine condition means for this coin. In fine condition, you'll notice the coin has visible wear, but the key details are still present. Washington's portrait will show some flattening, especially on his hair and cheek, but you'll still be able to make out his features. On the reverse, the eagle and its wings will also show some wear, but the design will remain clear enough for collectors to appreciate. In fine condition, the wear is noticeable but not extreme. On the obverse, the date and motto will still be legible, and the reverse design remains fairly sharp, but with some softened details. To clarify, a fine condition coin has more significant wear than a very fine coin, but it's still considered collectible. The surface will have some scratches and marks from circulation, but the important features of the design are still distinguishable. So, what's the value of this 1977 Washington quarter in fine condition in today's auction market? Well, it's not a rare coin, but it still holds some value due to its good condition. In fine condition, this coin typically sells for around $4 to $6. At auction, prices can vary depending on the market and how many people are bidding. However, you can usually expect a 1977 Washington quarter in fine condition to fall in that $4 to $6 range unless it's part of a larger collection or there's something particularly unique about the coin. Before you sell or buy, always check your coins for errors. Sometimes those little mistakes can add a lot of value. If your 1977 Washington quarter has a double die or some other minting issue, it could sell for significantly more than the typical market price. Next up, the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, and this one is in bad condition. While it may not look as shiny and fresh as the day it was minted, it still carries some value in history. So, let's take a closer look at this piece of American history and figure out just how much it's worth in today's market. Here we have the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that has been around for over a century. Despite its bad condition, it remains an important piece in the Lincoln wheat penny series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. So what exactly does bad condition mean for a coin like this? Let's take a look. On the obverse, we can see the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has graced American coinage for over 100 years. As you can see in this bad condition, the coin has experienced significant wear. The details on Lincoln's face and the Liberty inscription are heavily worn, and much of the "In God We Trust" motto is barely legible. This type of wear happens when a coin circulates for decades and endures a lot of handling and environmental exposure. Despite its condition, you can still make out the word Liberty along the left side of Lincoln's bust, although it's fading due to the wear. The "In God We Trust" motto, located above Lincoln's portrait, is significantly worn and difficult to read. This is a common issue with coins that have been in circulation for many years, especially those in bad condition. Now, let's take a look at the reverse of the coin. Here, we see the iconic wheat stalks that give the Lincoln wheat penny its name. The 1 cent inscription is visible, but again, the heavy wear makes the details less sharp. The United States of America and E Pluribus Unum inscriptions are there, but they're difficult to read because of the surface wear and damage. In bad condition, you'll often see fading, or even some abrasions that obscure the finer details of the design. Now, what makes the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny so significant? For one, it was minted in Philadelphia, as it has no mint mark, and the 1918 year falls within a period of high production. It was produced in substantial numbers, around 250 million were minted that year. This large mintage means that the coin is relatively common, especially compared to others from earlier years, or those with lower mintages. However, the condition of the coin still plays a big role in its value. To understand the value of the 1918 Lincoln wheat penny in bad condition, we need to talk a bit about coin grading. Grading is a system used by collectors and dealers to evaluate the condition of a coin, and the lower the grade, the less the coin is worth. In bad condition, this coin would likely fall into a poor or fair grade range. Coins in poor or fair condition have a lot of wear, scratches, and often some environmental damage. They might not have many clear features or readable inscriptions, making them less valuable than coins in better grades. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the value. The 1918 Lincoln Wheat penny in bad condition typically won't fetch a high price. As a coin in poor or fair condition, it is valued primarily for its historical significance and metal content rather than its collectible appeal. Coins like these, especially in bad condition, generally sell for a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on the auction or sale. Currently, you can expect the 1918 Lincoln Wheat penny in bad condition to be worth around $19,000. The price is usually on the lower end because the coin's wear makes it less desirable to collectors who are looking for higher quality examples. However, even in this condition, it's still worth something, and there are always collectors who are looking to complete their sets, no matter the condition of the coin. If you plan to sell this coin, the best place to look would be online marketplaces like eBay or a local coin shop. On eBay, you might see similar 1918 Lincoln Wheat pennies in bad condition selling for between $50,000. However, the price will vary depending on the interest of collectors at the time of the auction. It's important to note that auction houses or coin dealers may offer a slightly higher price, but again, the condition will dictate how much you'll get. Now, if you're a collector or just want to preserve your 1918 Lincoln Wheat penny, I'd recommend keeping it in a coin holder or capsule. Even though it's in bad condition, keeping it stored properly will prevent further wear and tear. Avoid cleaning the coin with harsh chemicals or abrasive materials, as this can cause even more damage and decrease its value. The best way to keep your coin in its current condition is by storing it in a safe, dry place, the 1966 Washington quarter, without mint mark, in fine condition. So, how much is this silver beauty worth in today's auction market? Let's take a look. The 1966 Washington quarter is part of the last year for 90% silver quarters. After 1964, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition, but 1966 was one of the final years for silver quarters. This specific coin does not have a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Let's talk about fine condition. In fine condition, this coin will show significant wear, but it's still in pretty decent shape. You'll notice some flattening on the details of Washington's face and on the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Still, the main features are clear, and the coin is recognizable as a 1966 Washington quarter. A coin in fine condition has clear details but shows moderate wear. On a 1966 Washington quarter, the date and mint mark or lack thereof will still be legible, and the overall design remains intact. This is a common grade for circulated coins, meaning it's a coin that was actually used in everyday transactions back in the day. To give you a quick idea, a fine grade coin will show noticeable wear on the high points, but you can still see the key details. The coin's surface may have some scratches or discoloration, but it still holds a lot of its original charm. So, what's the 1966 Washington quarter worth in fine condition at today's auctions? Well, this coin can typically sell for around $7 to $10 in fine condition, depending on its overall appearance and the auction house. At auction, the price can vary based on demand, so if there are collectors actively bidding for silver quarters or those interested in specific years, you might see the price go higher. However, most coins in this grade won't fetch huge amounts unless they have unique characteristics. Now, just like with any coin, you should always check for potential errors. If this coin had an error, like a double die or a misstrike that could greatly increase its value sometimes into the hundreds of dollars, even in a lower grade like fine error coins are highly collectible and can significantly increase the value of an otherwise common coin. So, always give your coins a close inspection for any minting mistakes that could make them special. Now, for comparison, a 1966 Washington quarter in mint state can go for around $20 to $30 depending on its condition, while a coin in uncirculated or proof quality can fetch $50 or more. So, fine condition is on the lower end of the price scale, but still offers decent value for a silver quarter. Next up, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that might not be as rare as some, but it's certainly interesting when it comes to its large date and D-mint mark. Plus, this one has an appealing color shade, and we're going to explore its value in today's market. So, let's jump right in. Here it is, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a large date and D-mint mark, and as you can see, this one has a beautiful color shade. Now, before we go into the specifics of its value, let's break down what makes this particular coin stand out. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was first introduced in 1909, and it remained in circulation for many years before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Penny in 1959. The 1953 penny is one of the last years of the wheat design, and this one features the large date variety, which means the numbers in the year are a bit larger than those found on earlier pennies from the same year. The D-mint mark on this coin indicates that it was minted in Denver, one of the 3 primary mints that struck pennies in the US at the time. The other 2 mints were in Philadelphia and San Francisco, but the Denver mint played a significant role in producing coins for circulation in the post-World War II years. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the obverse, we can see Abraham Lincoln's profile, the Liberty inscription, and the famous motto, "In God We Trust." This design, by Victor David Brenner, was the first U.S. coin to feature the likeness of a president. If you take a look at the reverse, you'll see the iconic wheat stalks, which gave the coin its "wheat penny" nickname. Now, what's unique about this coin is the color shade it displays. As you can see, the copper has developed a lovely reddish-brown patina over the years, which is typical for pennies from this era. The red color shade means it still holds some of its original copper color, although there has been some oxidation and toning over time. When it comes to the condition of this coin, it's in fine condition. That means the coin shows some wear, but the details of the design are still visible. On the obverse, you can still make out the features of Lincoln's face, although they've softened a bit from wear. The reverse also still displays the wheat stalks, although you'll notice some flattening from years of circulation. Alright, so let's get to the most important part. The value of the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the large date and D-mint mark in fine condition. As with any coin, its value is primarily determined by a few key factors, such as condition, rarity, and collector demand. Based on current market trends, a 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny in fine condition can typically fetch between 50 cents to $1.50. That's a general range based on recent sales and auction data. It's not the rarest penny out there, but its value can still increase depending on factors like market demand and how well preserved the coin is. In fine condition, the large date variety doesn't significantly increase the value compared to the regular 1953 penny, but the D-mint mark does make it slightly more desirable. Coins that were minted in Denver tend to have a slightly higher premium than those without a mint mark or those minted in Philadelphia. Now, if this coin were in extra fine or mint state condition, the value would be much higher. For example, an extra fine or AU, almost uncirculated version of this coin, could be worth anywhere from $3 to $5. And if it were in MS65 or higher condition, basically a perfect uncirculated example, it could fetch $10 or more. But in fine condition like this one, it's more likely to be on the lower end of that spectrum. Let's take a moment to talk about what really affects a coin's value. Obviously, condition is the #1 factor. Coins in better shape are always worth more. But rarity also plays a big role. Although the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny isn't especially rare, it is part of a popular and collectible series. The Wheat Penny series has a lot of appeal, and coins from this era often attract collectors who are trying to complete their collections. Another factor is collector demand. Even if a coin isn't especially rare, if there's a high demand from collectors, its price can go up. And of course, the overall market trends can fluctuate. If we see a spike in interest in Lincoln Wheat pennies, the price of even more common coins like this one could rise. So, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on the market if you're looking to buy or sell. Now that you know about the value of this coin, let's talk about how to care for it. Coins like this one are typically stored in holders, like 2x2 flips or hard plastic slabs, to keep them from getting scratched or further damaged. If you want to preserve the color shade and prevent any further oxidation, storing your coin in a cool, dry place is essential. Next up, the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny without mint mark, and this one is in very fine condition. If you're a collector or just getting started in the world of numismatics, this is a coin you won't want to miss. We'll explore its history, its value in today's market, and what makes it a great addition to any collection. So, let's get started. Here we have the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This iconic coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, and has been part of American coinage since 1909. This particular penny, minted in 1928, is without mint mark, which means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. On the obverse, you'll see Lincoln's familiar portrait in the center. The details are still clear and well-defined in very fine condition, which is one of the reasons this coin has a higher value than one in lesser condition. The Liberty inscription is legible, and we can easily make out the "In God We Trust" motto above Lincoln's head. The fine details, like Lincoln's hair and facial features, are still visible, which is characteristic of coins in very fine condition. Now, let's flip it over and take a look at the reverse of the coin. The wheat stalks design is beautifully preserved in this very fine condition coin. The 1 cent inscription is clear, and the United States of America and E Pluribus Unum inscriptions are well defined. There's some light wear, but overall the design is sharp enough to be easily recognizable, which is what collectors look for in a coin like this. One thing to note about the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny is that it's part of a series that was produced during the 1920s, a period where Lincoln pennies were widely circulated and seen in everyday transactions. Even so, the condition of this coin is relatively rare, as most of the coins from this time frame saw a lot of wear. So, what makes the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny special? First of all, the 1928 date is a bit more significant because it marks the end of the 1920s, a decade that saw the transition from World War I to the Great Depression. Despite the high mintage numbers of over 200 million coins that year, finding one in very fine condition is not that common, which is part of the reason why this coin can hold a bit more value than its more worn counterparts. Now, let's talk about grading. If you've been collecting for a while, you know that grading is essential in determining a coin's value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to mint state MS70. The very fine VF20 grade indicates that the coin has been well preserved, with most of the key features still visible but showing some signs of wear. For the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny, being in very fine condition means the coin still has great detail and appeal to collectors. Now let's get to the part you've all been waiting for. What's the value of this coin in today's market? Based on the condition, the 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny in very fine condition generally has a market value of around $150,000. This is a significant jump in value from those in good or fine condition, where they might sell for only a few cents to $1. The very fine grade is where we start to see some of these coins really gain value. If you're planning to sell your 1928 Lincoln Wheat Penny in very fine condition, there are a few options to consider. Online platforms like eBay are a great place to sell, and you can expect to see coins in this condition sell for anywhere between $200,000, depending on the interest from collectors. The value may fluctuate slightly, but that's generally the price range for a coin in very fine condition. Some collectors may be willing to pay a premium if they're looking for this specific year and condition to complete a set. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on what similar coins are selling for before you list yours. Next up, the 1990 Washington Quarter with a large date and the D mint mark in very fine condition. How much can you expect this coin to fetch at auction? Let's find out. The 1990 Washington Quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, indicated by the D mint mark. This coin is part of the modern clad series, made with a copper-nickel composition rather than the silver used in previous years. The large date on this quarter refers to the size of the digits in the year, a minor variation from other years, but it's something collectors keep an eye on. Let's talk about what makes this coin special in very fine condition. A very fine coin shows moderate wear, but the key details remain clear. On this coin, you'll still be able to make out most of Washington's features on the obverse, like his hair and the outline of his face, And the reverse with the eagle and its feathers is still well defined. A very fine condition coin will show noticeable wear, especially on the higher points like Washington's cheek and the eagle's wings. But the coin is still in great shape for its age and displays all the important design elements clearly. To break it down, a very fine coin is one that has been circulated, so you'll see some wear and tear, but it's still in good enough shape to keep its value. For this 1990 Washington quarter, the features on both sides will still be sharp enough for collectors to appreciate. Now, let's get to the big question. What's this 1990 Washington quarter worth at auction today? A coin in very fine condition like this one typically sells for around $5 to $7. It's a fairly common coin, so you won't see it going for huge amounts, but it's still worth more than face value. At auction, prices can vary depending on the market and demand, but expect this coin to land in that price range unless there's something extra special about it, like a rare error or unique feature. Now, just like with any coin, it's always a good idea to check for potential errors or varieties that could boost the value. For instance, if this 1990 Washington quarter had a double die or a misstrike, it could fetch much higher prices, even hundreds of dollars in some cases. Some of the most sought-after error coins include double die obverse or reverse, off-center strikes, and clashing errors. If you spot one of these, you could have a very valuable coin on your hands, even if it's in a lower grade. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, featuring the large date with the D mint mark. And what makes this one particularly interesting is its red color shade and full damage condition. So, the big question is, what's its value in today's market? Let's find out. Here it is, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This particular coin has been through quite a bit over the years, as you can see from the full damage condition. It's a large date variety, which refers to the size of the numbers used in the year, and it carries the D mint mark that indicates it was minted in Denver. But what's most striking about this particular coin is the red color shade that remains, despite its condition. Before we get into the value, let's talk about some history. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck just after the end of World War II, a time of transition in the United States. The large date variety of the 1945 penny came about because the U.S. Mint used a different die for this year, creating a noticeable difference in the size of the numbers. But despite this, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny wasn't an especially rare coin in terms of mintage, with over 1 billion coins produced that year. However, over the decades, the condition of these coins has varied greatly. Looking at the obverse, you can see Abraham Lincoln's profile, as designed by Victor David Brenner, alongside the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse shows the famous wheat stalks, a design that has made this coin iconic. It's a coin that represents not only the history of Lincoln, but also the history of the U.S. itself. However, this coin has definitely seen better days, and it brings us to our main focus, its full damage condition. Now, let's talk about the condition of this coin. This 1945 penny is in full damage condition, which means it has significant wear and tear. Coins in this condition often show signs of scratches, dents, and discoloration. For this particular coin, you can see the red color shade that remains, likely from oxidation and wear over the years. The detail is quite worn down, and you can see that the wheat stalks and Lincoln's features are far less defined compared to coins in better conditions. The coin has severe scratches and damage along the surface, likely due to it being mishandled, stored improperly, or exposed to environmental elements over the years. This type of damage significantly affects the grade of the coin and therefore its market value. Now let's get to the interesting part. What's the value of a coin like this in today's market? When it comes to coins in full damage condition, the value is typically much lower than in higher grade examples. For the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, even in damaged and worn condition, we can look at what these coins are selling for right now. Based on recent auction sales and online listings, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny in full damage condition generally ranges from about 10 cents to 50 cents. Yes, you heard that right. It's not much. Even though this coin is a historical piece, the condition plays such a huge role in its value. Damaged coins, especially those with scratches, heavy wear, and discoloration, are often worth just a small fraction of a well-preserved coin. Now, let's compare that to a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny in unimpaired condition, or even one in fine or extra fine condition. Those coins can sell for $1 to $5, depending on the market and the grade. But as we're talking about this coin, with significant damage and wear, its value stays on the lower end of the spectrum. As you can see, this 1945 penny in better shape is clearly worth more. So, if you have a Lincoln wheat penny from 1945 and it's in good or excellent condition, that could significantly increase its value. Of course, coin value isn't determined by condition alone. Factors such as rarity, demand, and collector interest play a big role too. The 1945 penny in full damage condition will never be worth the same as a pristine example. But if it's the only one someone can find for their collection, it could hold sentimental value. Remember, collector demand and market trends can fluctuate. So while this coin may be worth less today, it could see a rise in value as time goes on. Next up, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with a large date and an S mint mark, and we'll dive into its extra fine condition and its current value in today's market. Let's get started. Here it is, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. This particular coin features a large date and an S mint mark, meaning it was produced at the San Francisco Mint. The obverse side of the coin showcases Abraham Lincoln's iconic portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner. The "In God We Trust" motto is clearly visible above his head, along with the Liberty inscription to the left. Now, the extra fine condition of this coin is really what makes it stand out. In this grade, you can see that most of the fine details like Lincoln's facial features, his hair, and the inscriptions are still very well defined and sharp. There may be a slight amount of wear, but the overall look of the coin remains very impressive. Before we dive deeper into its value, let's talk about the unique aspects of this coin. The large date was a characteristic seen on the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, but there was also a small date version that was released the same year. The large date variety is often preferred by collectors because it's seen as more distinctive, and this particular one with the S mint mark indicates it was minted in San Francisco, which adds to its appeal. Now let's flip this coin over and take a look at the reverse. The wheat stalks design is still very clear and well preserved in this extra fine grade. The United States of America inscription is easily readable, and the E Pluribus Unum motto is also in great shape. The 1 cent. Engraving is bold and sharp, making this coin a real gem for any collection. The clarity of the wheat stalks and the design elements here is what collectors look for when evaluating the quality of a coin in extra fine condition. While there may be some light wear in the fields, the overall aesthetic of the coin is still strong, and that's a big part of what determines its value. Now, let's take a step back and look at the historical context of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. This coin was minted during the post-World War II era, a time when the United States was experiencing significant economic changes. The Lincoln wheat penny series had been around since 1909, and by 1950, it was one of the most widely circulated coins in the country. While the 1950 Lincoln penny was part of a large mintage, over 1 billion coins were produced. Finding one in extra fine condition is relatively uncommon, and that's why it stands out to collectors today. Let's talk about coin grading for a moment. The extra fine EF40 grade is one step below mint state, and it indicates that the coin has been preserved very well over time. The details on the coin are almost fully visible, with only minor wear on high points like the cheek and hair of Lincoln. If you hold a coin in extra fine condition, you're likely to see most of the design still sharp and the coin looking great overall, just showing some light circulation wear. So, what is the value of this coin today? Based on the current coin market, a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny with an S mint mark in extra fine condition can range in value from around $1.50 to $3. However, this value can fluctuate depending on factors such as demand, the coin's specific condition, and how much interest it generates at auction. As you can see, coins in this condition can fetch a decent price, but they're not overly expensive like some of the rarer Lincoln wheat pennies. Still, for collectors looking to complete their sets, or for those who appreciate coins from this era, the 1950 large date with S mint mark is an excellent piece to add to a collection. If you're thinking of selling your 1950 Lincoln wheat penny in extra fine condition, Platforms like eBay are a great option for reaching collectors who are actively looking for this coin. Many sellers list their coins for a range of prices, often from $1.50 to $3, but if your coin has higher appeal or better eye appeal, you might be able to push it higher. Always make sure to check current listings and auction results to get an idea of what's trending in the market. On the flip side, if you're in the market to buy one of these coins, you should be able to find plenty of options in this price range. But don't forget to check the coin's condition, as well as the seller's reputation, before making a purchase. Looking forward, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the S mint mark is a coin that's likely to maintain its value for the long term. While it's not a rare coin, it holds enough historical and collectible value to be a great piece to hold onto as part of a larger collection. Next up, the 1982 Washington quarter with a large date and D mint mark in very fine condition. You'll want to stick around to find out how much this coin could fetch at auction today. The 1982 Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark on the reverse side. This coin is part of the modern Washington quarter series, which was made from copper-nickel-clad composition starting in 1965, unlike the earlier silver Washington quarters. Let's focus on the very fine condition of this coin. When a coin is in very fine condition, it shows significant wear, but the design is still very detailed. On the obverse, you'll see Washington's portrait with some wear on the high points, especially around his cheek and hairline. But the features are still quite clear. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and feathers will show more wear but are still fully recognizable. In very fine condition, the coin's overall detail is still very present, though the sharpness of the features may be softened a bit. You'll also notice that the coin has been in circulation for quite a while, but it hasn't been overly worn down. The large date is another feature of interest for collectors, as it's easier to see compared to the smaller date quarters from earlier years. To explain a bit further, very fine coins show more detail than fine coins but still display some signs of circulation. The edges and designs aren't sharp and pristine like a mint state coin, but they're much more defined than coins in lower grades like good or fair. So, what's the value of this 1982 Washington quarter in very fine condition in today's auction market? Well, this is a more common coin from the early 1980s, but it still has some value due to its good condition. In very fine condition, it typically sells for around $6 to $10. At auction, the price might fluctuate a bit depending on demand and the number of bidders. However, you can generally expect a 1982 Washington quarter in very fine condition to land in that range, unless it's part of a collection or has some unique features. But don't forget to check your coins for errors. Coins with minting mistakes, such as double dies or off-center strikes, can be worth significantly more. Even a slight error can increase a coin's value, sometimes by hundreds of dollars. Error coins are highly prized by collectors, and if your 1982 Washington quarter has a double die or other noticeable flaw, it could end up worth much more than the usual value for a coin in very fine condition. Next up, the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny without mint mark. But there's a catch. This particular penny has a black color shade and is in dirty condition. So, what does that mean for its value in today's market? Let's find out. Here we have the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin produced during World War II, which was a critical period in American history. On the obverse, we have the well-known portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. It's a design that has graced the coin since 1909, making it one of the most iconic coin designs in the U.S. Mint's history. Now, you'll notice that the coin has a black color shade and some signs of dirt, which is due to its dirty condition. The "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" inscriptions are still visible, but they may not be as crisp as a coin in better condition. Over time, dirt and grime can accumulate on a coin, especially if it has been in circulation for many years, like this one. To understand the significance of the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, it's important to know that it was part of the wartime years when copper was in short supply, and coins were struck with a combination of copper and zinc. While the 1944 Lincoln penny was minted in large numbers, over 1 billion were produced that year, it still holds some collectible value due to its association with the wartime economy and Lincoln's enduring legacy. Let's talk about the condition. This coin, as you can see, has a black color shade and is in dirty condition. What does that mean for its value? When we talk about coins in dirty condition, it's important to note that their value is typically much lower than coins in mint condition or even in fine or very fine condition. The dirt on the coin can actually detract from its appeal to collectors. In this particular example, you can see dirt and discoloration around Lincoln's portrait and the coin's design elements. While this doesn't completely obscure the coin's details, it certainly reduces its overall appeal. In the world of coin collecting, uncleaned, dirty coins tend to be less desirable because collectors prefer coins in a more pristine state. Some collectors even worry that cleaning a coin could cause more damage, so they opt to leave the natural patina or dirt on the coin, as is the case with this penny. So what do we mean by dirty condition? Well, in the world of coin grading, this coin would likely fall under a good to fair grade. You can see wear on Lincoln's portrait and other design elements due to years of circulation. Grading is based on how much of the original design remains visible, and in this case, we see some significant wear and dirt buildup. Here's a cleaner version of a similar coin for comparison. As you can see, the details are much sharper and clearer, and this coin would fetch a higher value in the market. So, while the 1944 Lincoln penny in dirty condition won't be worth much more than face value or slightly above, the cleaner examples tend to command a higher price, especially in better grades. In dirty condition, this coin is likely worth somewhere between 50 cents to $1.50. Since it's in fair to good condition, it won't fetch a high price at an auction or a collector's market. Coins like these are more common, and their value is determined largely by the wear and condition they've been kept in. For comparison, a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition could be worth anywhere from $2 to $4, while one in extra fine or mint state could go for significantly more. So, the dirt and discoloration really make a difference in the price you can expect to get for a coin like this. If you find a coin like this in your collection, and you're wondering if you should clean it, my advice is don't. Cleaning coins can cause irreparable damage, and many collectors prefer to leave a coin in its natural state. The dirt might actually add some character, but cleaning it could lower its value. The best thing to do is store your coins properly to prevent further tarnishing or damage. Use coin holders, slabs, or storage cases to protect your coins from dirt, moisture, and further damage. It's always good to keep your coins in a safe and clean environment to help preserve their condition as much as possible. Next up, the 1987 Washington quarter with a large date and the D mint mark in extra fine condition. How much can this coin fetch in today's auction market? Let's find out. The 1987 Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the D mint mark on the reverse. This is a part of the clad series of quarters, meaning it's made with a copper-nickel composition, unlike the silver quarters of earlier years. The large date refers to a slightly bigger font used for the year on these coins, something collectors look for when building their sets. Let's take a closer look at the extra fine condition of this coin. In extra fine condition, you'll notice that the coin is in great shape. There's still a little wear on the highest points, but the details are sharp and clear. Washington's face and hair will be well defined, and the reverse design, including the eagle and its feathers, will show minimal wear. On a very fine coin, there will be wear on the highest parts of the design, but they're still very legible. For this coin, you'll still see the details of Washington's face, and the eagle's wings will be clearly visible with only a little wear. On the edges, coins in extra fine condition are in great shape. They've been circulated, but still retain a lot of their original detail. So, when we look at the 1987 Washington quarter, you'll find it's far more detailed than a coin in fine condition, and definitely shows much less wear than one in good condition. So, what's this 1987 Washington quarter worth in extra fine condition in today's market? Well, these quarters are fairly common, but in extra fine condition, they're generally worth around $7 to $10 at auction. At auction, the price can fluctuate based on demand, but typically, a coin in extra fine condition won't break the bank. You may see it on the lower end of that range, unless there's a collector specifically looking for this year. And mint mark. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a rare error on your 1987 Washington quarter, that could definitely affect its value. For example, A double die or an off-center strike could really bump up the price, sometimes even turning a relatively common coin into something worth hundreds of dollars. Collectors always look out for error coins. If your 1987 Washington quarter has a double die or other notable mistakes from the minting process, that could increase its value exponentially, regardless of its grade. Next up, the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny, without a mint mark, in very fine condition. But what's it worth in today's market? Let's find out. Here we have the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that's over 100 years old. It was struck in the aftermath of World War I, a period of great change for both the United States and the world. This coin features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which has been used on the obverse of the penny since 1909. It's an iconic image that every coin collector is familiar with. On this penny, you can see Liberty and In God We Trust on either side of Lincoln's profile. The reverse side shows the famous wheat stalks, which is where the coin gets its name, the wheat penny. The words E Pluribus Unum and United States of America circle around the wheat stalks, along with the denomination 1 cent. All these details are crisp and clear, thanks to its very fine condition. So, what makes the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny special? Well, for starters, it's part of the Lincoln series, which has been produced by the U.S. Mint for over a century. But in terms of rarity, the 1923 penny isn't one of the rarest by mintage numbers. The 1923 Lincoln penny had a production of around 75 million coins, which is a pretty decent amount, but it was still made during a time when coin production was starting to pick up again after the war. Even though it's not the rarest in terms of numbers, the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny is still highly valued by collectors, especially in higher grades like very fine or better, because it represents that transitional era in American history right after the war. Now let's talk about this coin's condition. This 1923 penny is in very fine condition, which means it has a noticeable amount of wear, but still retains most of its details. When we talk about coin grading, very fine condition typically refers to coins that have some light to moderate wear, but the major design elements like the Lincoln portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse are still clearly visible. The coin might have a few minor scratches or slight discoloration, but it's still in pretty good shape considering it's over 100 years old. Look closely at the details on Lincoln's hair and his bow tie, and you'll notice that despite some wear, the details are still quite sharp. The wheat stalks on the reverse still have plenty of definition, with the grains and leaves visible. This makes the coin stand out and shows that it has been well preserved over the years. So, now the big question. What's the value of this coin in today's market? Well, when it comes to coins like the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny, the condition plays a huge role in determining its value. Since this one is in very fine condition, it is worth more than a coin in good or fair condition, but less than a coin in extra fine or mint state. Based on recent auction results and online listings, the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny, in very fine condition, typically ranges in value from $2 to $5. This can fluctuate slightly depending on the specific auction or dealer you're working with, but you can expect it to land in that price range. Keep in mind that well-preserved coins with more detailed designs can sometimes fetch slightly higher prices, especially from collectors looking for a nice example of this iconic coin. Now, if we compare the 1923 penny to other years in the Lincoln wheat series, you'll notice that some years with lower mintage numbers can fetch significantly higher prices. For example, the 1914 D Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most sought-after pennies in the series and can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the condition. But the 1923 penny remains relatively affordable, especially in the very fine condition you see here today. It's also important to note that errors or variations can affect the value of coins. For instance, certain minting errors can turn a relatively common coin into a highly valuable one. But as you can see, this coin is free of any major errors, and that's why it falls in the more affordable range for collectors. Let's talk a little bit about coin care. If you have a 1923 Lincoln wheat penny like this one, you want to make sure you're storing it properly to preserve its value. Keep it in a coin holder, such as a 2x2 flip or a slab for higher value coins. If you're planning to handle it, make sure to use cotton gloves to avoid leaving oils or dirt on the surface of the coin. Proper care and storage can ensure your coin maintains its value over time. Next up, the 1985 Washington Quarter, featuring a large date with the P mint mark in fine condition. Stick around as we break down its value in today's auction market. The 1985 Washington Quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is denoted by the P mint mark on the reverse side of the coin. As with most quarters produced in the 1980s, this coin is part of the copper nickel-clad series, making it distinct from earlier silver quarters. Now let's talk about what fine condition means for this coin. A coin in fine condition will show noticeable wear from circulation, but key features will still be clearly visible. On the obverse, Washington's portrait will show some smoothing, especially around the cheek and the hairline. However, his profile and the date are still easily recognizable. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and feathers will be worn but still show their general form. In fine condition, the wear is obvious but not excessive. The coin has been in circulation, but it hasn't been overly damaged or worn down to the point where the design is unrecognizable. The large date is a characteristic feature of this quarter, making it easy for collectors to identify. So, how much is this 1985 Washington Quarter in fine condition worth in today's auction market? While this coin is not particularly rare, it still has value due to its condition and the fact that it is part of the Washington Quarter series. In fine condition, you can generally expect to see it sell for around $4 to $6. At auction, prices can fluctuate slightly depending on factors like the current demand or the number of bidders interested in the coin. However, in most cases, the 1985 Washington Quarter in fine condition will typically fall within that $4 to $6 price range. But before you sell or buy, always check for errors. Sometimes, a small minting mistake can dramatically increase the value of a coin. Keep an eye out for things like double dies, off-center strikes, or any other unique features that could make your coin stand out. Minting errors are highly sought after by collectors. So, if your 1985 Washington Quarter has any noticeable flaws, such as a double die or off-center strike, it could end up being worth significantly more than the usual $4 to $6 range.